Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to a different type of video today. Instead of some disturbing Reddit stories like usual, we are getting into some disturbing Reddit users. This is a series I've wanted to do for a long time, so if you guys enjoyed this, comment down below and let me know if you'd like to see more because I'm excited about this. Most of the time, Reddit feels like just another corner of the internet until you stumble upon something you wish you hadn't. While weird posts are common, some are so disturbing that people have to step away just to process them. Today, we're diving into the most disturbing Reddit users whose stories will haunt you. And please like and subscribe. The channel's goal is 500,000 subscribers. Thank you, and now into the video. The first story we have is of the user AFH43. His account was created on May 16th, 2015, but there was no activity until 2016 when he started asking questions about hoodies, sneakers, and music production. Pretty normal if you ask me. However, this would soon change as a year later, in 2017, he made a disturbing post which then led him to descend into an extreme existential crisis and a state of derealization. The theory of quantum immortality has driven me to a state of pure anxiety and terror over the last week. Is it true? Has it been debunked? I can't do this anymore. Now, for those of you who do not know what quantum immortality is, it is basically the idea that you never truly die. Instead, your consciousness continues in a parallel universe where you survive. To dive deeper into this, quantum immortality is a thought experiment derived from the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. It suggests that a conscious observer can never truly experience their own death. The idea is based on the notion that, in situations with a non-zero probability of survival, the observer will always find themselves in the branch of reality where they continue to exist. To debunk his theory, a user named John Hazler replied by saying, "Quantum immortality just means that you will never wake up dead. Think about it. The only state you will ever observe yourself to be in is alive. That's only one of the problems with it. Another is that death is not an instantaneous quantum transition. It's a slow, messy process by which the collection of atoms that you are currently pleased to call me becomes so disorganized as to be unable to call themselves anything, and then began to stink. You will likely be there for much of the process and know what is happening. Don't worry, you are in no danger of being forced to live forever against your will." But by then, user AFH43 had already fallen down a deep rabbit hole with no way out. He went on to make multiple posts in subreddits like r/AskScience and r/AskPhilosophy, searching for some sort of answer. The possibility of quantum immortality is making my life unbearable. Is it a credible theory? It makes complete sense to me, and I can't believe I'm the only one losing my mind over it. I'm freaked out at the possibility of quantum immortality. Is it a credible theory? Scared of quantum immortality, please help me. Why don't you believe in it? The theory of quantum immortality has driven me to a really dark place. I'm living in a state of pure terror. Is there reason not to believe it is true? His paranoia kept on growing, and with each passing day, his anxiety worsened. He became obsessed with the idea that he might never die, trapped in a reality he could not escape. But this fear would soon push him down a very dark path. Later that year, he made a post in r/advice. Existential crisis. It won't stop. I need help. I can't do it anymore. I fear that because I am something in this universe, I will always be alive. Quantum immortality. It makes so much sense to me, and it is ruining my life. What do I do about it? I need to rest." On that post, a user asked him, "Do you also suffer from depersonalization or derealization?" To which he replied by just saying, "Yes." He had completely lost touch with reality, sinking into thoughts that the human mind isn't meant to comprehend. In another post on r/AskPhilosophy, he opened up a bit about his fears, but for him, this wasn't just a philosophical debate, it was a terrifying possibility, and it was driving him to the edge. That's when he reached his breaking point and made his final post. Quantum immortality. I am killing myself soon. It's too much. I can't do it anymore. Then his account went silent. Most assumed he had gone through with his plan, but in 2019, he suddenly reappeared with an explanation. This time he posted an r/relationship advice, and what he wrote was shocking. While recovering from my psychotic breakdown/suicide attempt, I, 22M, met the only girl, who was 22F, I have ever fallen in love with. Due to my state, it didn't work out. I am considering asking her out again. I am AFH43, a regular feature on those dark/creepy Reddit history threads. I am still alive. It's been a long time since I've logged into this account. I thought it had been long forgotten by everyone. However, after logging a few days ago, I saw that my inbox was full of hundreds of messages from people asking how I am or whether I am even alive. I also saw that my username had been mentioned in a lot of dark/creepy Reddit history Ask Reddit posts. These were extremely hard for me to read because I try not to think about that time in my life. Nearly 3 years ago, I woke up one morning and my mind simply broke. I believed that because of quantum immortality, I would never be able to die, and therefore would experience all of the greatest sufferings possible over and over again for all eternity. I felt there was no escape. It was like a panic attack of the highest intensity that did not end for weeks. For the first time, I understood what Emil Corian meant when he said, "We dread the future only when we are not sure we can ourselves when we want to." Surviving a suicide attempt only worsened my delusions. It was only once I started on my antipsychotic medication during my stay in a psych ward that I began to put the pieces of my life back together and return to normality. It was during the process of getting back on my feet that I met a girl whom I completely fell for. We went on a few dates, we even kissed, but because of what I was going through, I was so nervous around her that it made things a bit awkward, and I was very much emotionally closed up. I think I just tried too hard to make something happen. I just wasn't ready. I was still recovering from a truly traumatic and horrific experience that had completely shattered my mind. I only really started to become myself, to come out of my shell, after we stopped seeing each other, and I began my first relationship with another girl. My girlfriend was a pretty incredible person, and over the last year, with her, I learned to enjoy life, to become free and uninhibited by my anxieties. I became open. I became comfortable with myself and who I was and with the constraints on my existence. I made peace with my experience with my delusions. Today, I am happy and in control of my life. Truly. At first, it seemed like he was finally at peace, accepting reality and ready to move on. But in 2020, he returned. And this time, he was worse than ever. I'm still here. Unfortunately, I'm still here. For a few years now, my life has been pretty good, but at the moment, I'm having an unrelated breakdown and I'm in hospital for another mental reason. I wish I could commit suicide, but I'm still too scared. Maybe it's worth facing it though. I'll have to face death eventually. I'm stuck in hell and my life is f***ed. I might turn to drugs to have some relief from this relentless pain. I just need to sleep and never wake up. Maybe that can be my reality. I just can't do this. I feel alone. I'm terrified and numb at the same time. The default state of my life is suffering. If anyone can help dissuade me from QI, short for quantum immortality, please tell me. But please don't make it worse for me. I'm in agony. Nothingness is a beautiful thing. I just want out. I know it will transfer the pain to other people, and that makes me feel horrible. I wish I didn't have these beliefs. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here right now. Since my last post, I've been diagnosed with OCD, and that explains a lot. I've been given Seroquel today to help me start thinking rationally. This may sound stupid, but the situation has to do with heartbreak and very specific and absurd triggering factors related to it. Maybe that sounds stupid, but I found love, real love, and now it might be over. Life is suffering. I am suffering. I don't want to be here anymore. I wish this was physical pain instead. I really envy Emil Corian. It was a wonderful fantasy to him at the time because at any moment he knew he could escape, and that gave him immense comfort. My mind is broken, and I don't think I'll ever be able to fix it. This was the last time anyone heard from him. At first, people assumed he had simply gone off the grid again, maybe this time to heal, to finally break free from the chaos. But everything changed in late 2024 when another user made a post about him in r/askmeanything. And this wasn't just any post. My brother killed himself because of QI. Ask me anything. At first, these posts might seem completely unrelated, but the deeper you read, the more pieces start to fall into place. A few years ago, my brother discovered quantum immortality. If you don't know what that is, quantum immortality is a thought experiment that stems from the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. It suggests that if consciousness continues to exist in some form after death, then in some parallel universe, a person could survive events that would typically be fatal. Essentially, it implies that every time a life-threatening situation occurs, there are branches of reality where that person survives, leading to the idea that they could be immortal in those alternate realities. So, here's a scenario. Imagine a football player who is in a crucial game and faces a life-threatening injury during a play. In one universe, the injury is severe and they don't recover, ending their career. However, in another universe, the player miraculously avoids the worst of the injury and continues to play. According to the concept of quantum immortality, the player's consciousness continues in the universe where they survived, while in the other, they are no longer part of the game. This illustrates how they could be considered immortal in the sense that there's always a version of them that continues to exist. Hopefully that makes sense. My brother discovered it and went in extreme panic for weeks and weeks and constantly made posts asking about quantum immortality's flaws and asking people to explain why it's most likely false. However, no matter what people would try to explain to him, he wouldn't seem to listen. He was set. He later made posts claiming he was going to end it because QI was getting too much for him. He survived. A few years passed and we thought he was doing okay, but then he decided to let go again and didn't survive. In his note, he mentioned how QI got to him again and he couldn't take it. I also was never aware he even had a Reddit account when he was posting all those things about QI years ago, but when he passed, I decided to look through his phone and came across his account. Seeing it all the posts he made a few years ago, breaks me. People have even made videos about him. It kills me. It hurts so much. I think about QI a lot myself. If it is real, then he could still be alive in a different reality, but I try not to make myself go crazy over that shit. I hate how a dumb theory actually killed him. Anyways, yeah, ask me anything. Next up is Snapped Fingers, and trust me, he's the most disturbing Reddit user yet. And like AFH43, he shows signs of insanity and schizophrenia, but his story, it's even darker. This account was created on October 27th, 2019, and right off the bat, they started posting. I have no idea about the gender of this user, so I'm just going to refer to them as they. The very first post by this user is disturbing enough to get you invested. It read, "Saw someone get run over by a train and didn't feel anything. Sometime back, I was on my way to work at roughly, edited out I don't want drama, when some kid ran out onto the tracks and got pulverized by the train. Train used the horn a few times, which didn't deter the kid, who realized they wouldn't make it across the tracks way too late. Bystanders started freaking out after the kid got run down. One bystander was irrationally pacing in front of my vehicle, rambling incoherent nonsense. Ambulance arrived quickly and did a quick pickup, and police moved the train, and the world kept on spinning. Throughout the entire process, I felt nothing. I know it's wrong, but I didn't feel anything at all. I had to pretend to end the weird look I was beginning to get from the passenger that was with me. In media, they always say seeing a death is traumatizing and horrifying, but it doesn't make sense. I don't know them or anything else. In the end, I'm confused by the discrepancy. Am I somehow in the wrong for being indifferent in that situation, or is it something else? I know this sounds like some edgy garbage, but it is what it is, and I can't really make this not sound like that. It's clear this user is mentally disturbed, but their posts kept getting stranger and more unsettling. Most were odd but insignificant, until one post changed everything. This is where the real story begins. seeing and hearing things that aren't there. Lately, I've been seeing and hearing things that aren't there, even more than normal. Most of the time, it's small things like seeing spiders on me in my peripheral vision, only to look at them and they disappear. Other times, when I'm in bed, this thing about the thickness of a big fist pops up like a big snake on the side of my bed and looks at me only to dart back down out of sight. Whenever I investigate, nothing is there. Rarely, there's full body visual hallucinations. The last one was from a couple years ago when I was taking out the garbage. The silhouette of a child crunched down on all fours and charged at me only to disappear when I looked at it. And before that, there was a large, fleshy, naked, featureless figure slowly walking on all fours in the room down the hall, approximately the average size of a man. All throughout my childhood, I had this thing that would go in my ear. This one used to terrify me, but it's gotten beyond old. Not reacting to it seems to have gotten rid of that one. Rarely, when I try to sleep, a dog that doesn't exist will bark directly in my ear every time I close my eyes. My neighbors do not own a dog, and the sound is way too close for it to be. The trick to getting rid of it is closing one eye at a time to mess it up, and it won't come back for a long time after. Most of my life, I've been seeing and hearing things, but lately, the small ones have been happening more often, mainly the spiders, and the things that pop up on the side of the bed, and small moving shadows. Relatives are super into supernatural, which I do not believe in whatsoever, so they are aware I have seen and heard things. It was just summed up as ghostly mumbo jumbo. I do not inform them about what I see and hear anymore because it's pointless and makes it worse. Burning shit in my house doesn't solve the problem. Talking about them gives them strength, and that strength builds up to bad nights where I'm swarmed. I don't want doctors involved. They've treated me as a science experiment before for other things, medical, and I don't want that again. I do not want medication. I want to remain myself. I've never used illicit drugs, alcohol, smoking, or anything in my life and never intend to. I'm more so curious if anyone has dealt with this before and what they did to get rid of it. At this point, it's clear they're suffering from either schizophrenia or very severe PTSD. Interestingly, the user claims they don't believe in the supernatural, but as their condition worsens, their beliefs take a much darker turn. A few months later, they make the following post, which was deleted right away. However, the content is publicly available on other platforms. It read, "In 2008, I stuck a power drill into my arm. For as long as I can remember, I could see and hear things that weren't real and still do. I usually see them in my peripheral vision, and when I go to look at them, they disappear. But sometimes the big ones don't go away when seen. Sometime back in 2008, I was putting together a shelf when this large black mass came out of nowhere and engulfed my unoccupied arm. I didn't see it till it was right up on me. It scared me so badly, and it was coming up from my arm for my face, so I started jamming the drill into it. On the second strike, I hit my arm and the hallucination dissipated. I had to lie when I went to get it patched up, said I slipped and stuck myself. This behavior clearly points to psychotic tendencies. Many users urged them to seek professional help, but they refused again and again. On this specific post, a user named Opinions Cause Trouble replied by saying, I wonder if maybe you can see into another dimension. I hope this doesn't cause you any more pain. Why is it when you see more than others, you are an asset to a team, but when you see things other cannot, you are crazy? I hope you find a balance in this world, however you see fit. Snapped Fingers reply is where things get interesting and downright creepy. Funny you'd mention that. There's these spiders that sometimes show up in my peripheral vision, and when they are seen, they vanish. I've come to call them interdimensional spiders. Not sure if that's actually what's going on, but it's something I thought about. The other day, there was some guy on Discord telling me about a dimensional merge. Not sure I buy it, but point being, he said something about reality being weaker in some places, causing stuff like this, and some of the things that appear seem to be curious as they just look at me, then hide. Like when I'm in bed, there's these weird arm things as thick as a fist that pop up in my peripheral at the side of my bed, and when I look at them, they dive back down the side of the bed. Just months ago, this user didn't believe in the supernatural, but now they were starting to believe that they were seeing interdimensional beings, and that these visions were more than just a mental illness. By late 2019, they made another post, one even more concerning than the rest. This time, Snapped Fingers wasn't just considering it a possibility, they were convinced. How much of you do interdimensional beings require to leave you alone for good? Blood ritual. Long story short, I see things that don't appear to be actually there, but are. Recently, I've been discussing this matter with some experts on Discord, and apparently, if I give a significant part of myself, as in only from me, to these interdimensional beings, they will finally leave me alone. I've been informed a finger is enough to banish them, but I'm not convinced. I don't even know if they will take it completely or just want it removed as some peace offering. Basically, I don't know if it can be recovered. On top of that, I'm a bit skeptical on whether or not the whole ritual will work in general. Blood magic rituals are something I've never heard of until somewhat recently. Knowing now that this isn't hallucinations like I once thought, but interdimensional beings, I seek others who might have experience with banishing them, and hopefully there's a solution that's a little less extreme. That's right, Snapfingers was now considering a ritual, one that involved sacrificing a part of their body to an interdimensional being, just to be left alone. It was as if they were being manipulated. At first, they refused to believe in the supernatural, but over time, their mindset shifted, and suddenly, they were willing to perform bizarre rituals. Then, a few weeks later, a mysterious user left a comment on one of their posts. "Chief, please check your DMs. Discord. It's mission critical. Snapped Fingers. I'll call you guys later, but I want to know the truth now. No BS, it's super late on my end at the moment. In need to crash. Just to be sure, check your DMs, Chief. And don't worry, everything will make sense. If you're still beyond for a bit, let's continue this, or either on Discord or DMs." At first, it seemed like this user was trying to help Snapped Fingers, but their next post suggested something far more unsettling. Blurry thing by bedside ghost, or no? For context, long story short, I thought these were hallucinations, then interdimensional beings, then hallucinations, but after meds didn't stop it, I'm wondering if it's ghosts. I know how it sounds, I know. Please hear out the whole thing though, please. Most of my life, I've been seeing things that weren't there, or so I thought, but I'm running out of explanations. Up until a week or so, it kept getting more and more frequent, but now it kind of slowed. But now there's this thing that pops up on the side of my bed that's really blurry. It's kind of like a snake-like arm that darts up quickly, and when I look at it, it ducks back down. I only see this when in bed. I've seen it a few times before, but since the big guy stopped showing up, this little blurry snake/arm thing has increased its visits. The last time it appeared at the foot of my bed when I was playing something on Steam, the second my eyes moved, it darted down. This was the best look I've had at it because it came up in nearly direct line of sight. It was mostly white with 2 or 3 black splodges on it. Previous appearances were mostly the left side of my bed, by the wall, and once on the same side but by the head of the bed. It just pops up looking at me, I think, then darting back down. The last time I stuck my head right under the bed and saw nothing. I just started addressing it as a friend during its appearances to maybe make peace with it. I'm not scared of this one, just concerned as to the origin of this thing and why it is appearing and such. Has anyone experienced this or know what it is or what it wants? Snapped Fingers was convinced that these interdimensional beings were actually ghosts now. Fast forward a few weeks, Snapped Fingers had lost grip on reality and things started getting serious. Is there really a hell portal down in the Paris catacombs? I believe that if this portal is actually there, that it might be responsible for the release of swarms of interdimensional beings that spread out worldwide. I've been looking for pictures of this portal, but keep getting images of the rooms flooded with bones inside. I need to find the portal's exact location so I can get an off-the-rails guide down there to shut down this portal. I have put together enough money for a flight and to get equipment that can be flown over there. I haven't quite figured out how to shut down the portal yet, but I'm still working on that matter with a duo that has shut down hell portals before. I've been working on this plan for a while now, and now that I'm so close, there's now being airports shut down because these interdimensional beings released a biblical plague to stop this from happening. I need to find this portal. If you haven't guessed it yet, the plan Snapped Fingers mentioned was actually the same critical mission the mysterious user referenced earlier. This suggests they weren't acting alone, but were being influenced or even controlled by a group feeding into their delusions. Then right before starting their journey, Snapped Fingers made another post to update everyone that this is really happening. Advice for traversing unofficial routes in the Paris catacombs. I am in need of advice for traversing the Paris catacombs unofficial/alternative routes. Below is for context. In a few short days, I will be traveling via an alternative means to Paris to bypass the lockdown. I'm making this trip to shut down the Hell Portal deep within the Paris catacombs. This portal is responsible for enabling an interdimensional hell incursion into our world. The twisted beings coming from this portal cannot be seen by all, but I can see them and they aren't quite nice. They reach under your door and charge at you, or if they're small, crawl all over you. These beings do not belong in our plane of existence, yet someone erected this portal and we built on top of it. I know how it might sound, but this is real. These beings truly exist. If I were in your shoes, I'd probably be thinking this poster is a nut or two. My current equipment for my journey as of now is one big metal industrial flashlight, 20 turpentine holy ritual flasks to banish small entities, one sleeping bag, one Bible to channel God's divine energy to assist with disarming the portal, 2 cans of beans, one buck knife to open the cans, and one chalk stick to mark my path. I'm considering a small chainsaw for limb sacrifice if I'm cornered by a large interdimensional being and need a quick out, but I don't have any means of halting the bleeding. I haven't found a way around this yet, but my departure growing near, I'm out of time to figure it out, as my volunteer will be arriving any day now to take me to Paris. Advice on the traversal, or even map of the layers of the catacombs would be tremendously appreciated. For those of you who don't know, the Paris catacombs are a huge underground tunnel system filled with the bones of over 6 million people. In the 18th century, cemeteries in Paris were running out of space, so bodies were moved into these tunnels, which were once old stone mines, and today a small part is open to the public, but the rest is a dark, confusing maze where people can easily get lost. Some explorers have tried to go deeper, but without maps or light, a few never make it back. To connect all of this, we need to refer to a post made by Snapped Fingers prior to starting this trip and mentioning the plan. How do I go about banishing interdimensional beings more effectively? Advice. For context, no, this is not medical. At first, I thought it was hallucinations, but that is not the case. I met some experts on this site that assured me that these are in fact interdimensional beings. With that out of the way, I came to ask about better ways to banish interdimensional beings. Currently, I only know the 2 methods listed below, but they are either require hassling the local church, which kicked me out, see Viridian's method, and making a big mess or putting myself in peril. Viridian's method, currently I'm using the method of mixing turpentine, a bit of my own blood, and holy water. A small glass enough to banish smaller interdimensional beings, but not larger ones. Master G's method. The other method can banish larger interdimensional beings, but at the cost of a part of one's self being sacrificed to the entity. Frankly, this method is too risky. Ended up with a hospital stay over it, among other BS. Sorry, Master G's. I appreciate the advice, though. This ties everything together and answers the lingering questions about what was really happening. Snapped Fingers had been convinced by other users that they were truly interacting with interdimensional beings and had to venture into the Paris catacombs to banish them and save the world. But in reality, it seems like someone was feeding them this idea, possibly inspired by the movie As Above, So Below, where a group discovers a portal to hell in this very same catacombs. Snapped Fingers had already started the trip, so a user who was curious for an update left a comment saying, "Hey man, how's the trip going? Also, try not to get lost down there." Snapped Fingers replied by saying, "Hey, the trip is going mostly okay, but there was some problems at the beginning and during. At the beginning, I got picked up and dropped off at some big building and had to wait a few days in this building in a wall room. It had a pretty sweet TV and a stack of movies I could watch. There was a couple who went through my things and they forbid me keeping my pickaxe and shovel, but they didn't go through my things that much, so I still have my buck knife for opening cans only. Then, when the gentleman that would be escorting me finally came, I brought up that I needed my pickaxe and shovel to shut down the hell portal, but they made me leave my shovel and pickaxe behind because they were worried I'd use them as weapons too. It's been kind of a long trip, but it's mostly been just waiting and watching movies, waiting for the gentleman mentioned previously, or later waiting for a signal from someone else to give us the go-ahead to move, which was almost always at night, which sucks. So I haven't slept very well either. Plus, it's very difficult to hide in a car when interdimensional beings start swarming the car. They made me tell them why I kept hiding, so now all the interdimensional beings are really mad and pressing themselves against the windows sometimes, and small ones are crawling inside the cabin. For context, whenever I tell people in real life about the interdimensional beings, they get really mad and start swarming later on. They already had an idea beforehand of what my mission is, so they were kind and understanding of the situation. We just got across the water today, and I'm in Calais right now, where I will be continuing my journey on my own. Although I didn't think to bring money, so I have to go on foot to Paris. I kind of think this might have been a mistake. While the couple I mentioned before gave me some Doritos for my journey, I realized I didn't account for food for the road. Actually, I have nowhere to go for shelter. I didn't account for money for a hotel or a rental car. I'm beginning to realize I'm screwed, like just now. I don't know what to do. I know I can ask for directions, but I have no refuge from these interdimensional freaks. They're still angry. I know it. And when they get the chance, they start swarming again. Jesus, I think this was a mistake. I don't even have enough money to go back. And if I get caught, I'm fucked. I don't have a way to call those guys back to even try asking for help. I don't know what to do. If I keep going, I'm going to be overtaken. If I get caught traveling illegally, I'm screwed either way. I need to clear my head. I'll post later. This was a deeply unstable individual, traveling to another country for something obscure. It's clear they were confused and not in their right mind. For a while, there were no significant updates. However, soon they made another post, which would change the whole trajectory of their mission. How do you cure possession by interdimensional beings? I am in a Discord group that has been helping me track down the source of an interdimensional incursion by interdimensional beings. These people helped unearth the truth of where these interdimensional beings are coming from, and even helped me get in contact with people to get me to the Paris catacombs and bypass the travel lockdown. Today, I believe they became possessed. And even though I have all the information I need, I know it isn't right to leave them possessed. I know they're possessed because when I told them I hired the men that can get me to the catacombs and that I'd be leaving with them to shut down the Paris catacombs hell portal, they suddenly became opposed to the entire operation. Even though we all planned it together. I am still in contact with the only member of the Discord who wasn't possessed, but even he is at a loss for how I can help the others. If I fail at shutting down the hell portal, they will be forever possessed, and leaving that risk to chance just isn't right. Please help me unpossess them. It's likely that the people manipulating this user realized they had taken things too far and decided to just back out. At this point, Snapped Fingers was mentally vulnerable and had fully embraced everything they had been told. But to those who had led them down this path, it was just a game. One they had no problem abandoning, leaving Snapped Fingers completely alone. Shortly thereafter, Snapped Fingers made another post, and this time it was clear they were in serious trouble. Traveled by questionable means and didn't account for funds to proceed further. I recently hired a group of gentlemen to take me to Paris so I could shut down the hell portal in the catacombs, and I arrived in Calais, but I need to continue on my own to Paris. My problem is I didn't account for funds for really anything. I didn't consider this part of the journey. I have nowhere to go, and I'm currently posting from inside a dumpster to hide from interdimensional beings. Since there's no light because of how late it is, they're swarming outside my bin. I cannot drag this dumpster with me on my journey as it's obviously too heavy. What should I do for shelter? Snapped Fingers was now in a pretty bad situation. The user made a short post asking to be invited back to the Discord because they needed to start a car without a key. After that, they made one final post. And since then, no one has heard from them. We'll be entering the catacombs in a few hours. While I found myself in a bit of a pickle the other day, the troubles are finally over. While I am not proud to have done this, I borrowed a vehicle I found and used it to get to Paris. I have left a note inside the vehicle explaining why I took it, and I have also sent the locksmith to put it back where I found it. Right now, I am just gearing up mentally before I go inside the catacombs. As promised, I will post a video of the destruction of the portal, and I will also create a portal destruction tutorial. I need to thank Avril Screeching Artistically for getting me out of the jam I was in by calling a guy who can start a guy without keys. Thank you, Screeching Artistically. You really saved my butt. I also want to give credit to my other Discord friends who helped me uncover all the information that led to the portal's discovery. Once I shut down the portal, you will be free from your possession. Someone has asked about a time frame for when I will post an update. while I don't know how big the catacombs are, my guess is maybe a day or two before my return with videos. I have taken some test footage while I was held up inside a dumpster the other night, and honestly, the quality isn't that great, but it's alright. To make up for it, I will take more footage while I'm down there. One other thing. Someone mentioned that catacomb explorers might attempt to hinder my travel, which absolutely cannot happen. These individuals have an extremely high probability of being possessed due to their extended exposure to living in the portal epicenter, so I will be wary of their threat. Snapfingers was undeniably struggling with very severe mental issues. Every year, over 500,000 people enter the Paris catacombs, and most are arrested since the police patrol the area constantly. However, there are hidden entry points that only a few know about. Dangerous, uncharted passages that can easily become death traps. In the end, there are only two possibilities. Snapfingers was either arrested or lost their life in the catacombs, alone, where their body may never be recovered. Romangarnd. This next post comes from a user named Romangarnd. Unlike the others in this video, this one plays out more like a story, but make no mistake, it's far from normal. And if you've made it this far, you might be hoping for something a little less creepy. Well, it is, but don't let your guard down just yet, because this post, it's something out of this world, literally. An alternate life for 30 years. So I came across Steve Cantwell's experience with salvia on a podcast where he lived an alternate life for 8 years in Texas. He was in Alaska on a salvia trip that lasted about 45 seconds. Meanwhile, in my hunt for such experiences, I came across a gentleman on Reddit who shared his salvia trip at 19, where he lived an alternate life for 30 years. He was kind enough to share the complete trip report, which I have shared below. P.S. The hunt began a couple of weeks ago. Ever since my pet cat died a horrible death, and I've been having dreams forcing me to rethink and question our reality and purpose of existence. I'm in my right frame of mind, but have begun to seriously question life as we know it. Thought you may like his experience. Copy and pasting below as received. Thanks. Before starting, it's important to know what salvia is. It's a strong hallucinogenic plant that causes intense but short-lived trips. Unlike other psychedelics, its effects are unpredictable and often unsettling. This hallucinogen is pretty rare to come by, but you're about to hear the experience of someone who managed to get their hands on it, and let's just say, it didn't go well. This isn't one I've made an actual trip report on, but I have mentioned it in some comments recently. People asking about parallel lives. This is an older experience now that I had many years ago. It's always been a pretty personal thing to me, but it's definitely a parallel life experience. I was 19 when it happened. I'd gotten into this habit of tripping with mirrors at the time, so I was in my bathroom, standing in front of the sink. I had some really bad experiences prior, and honestly, my plan was to try and bolt if shit got too strange. I remember with this one in particular, it seemed like nothing was happening. Everything was normal. I leaned in closer to the mirror, and the pupil in one of my eyes started growing and didn't stop. It happened fast. There was no escaping it. It pulled me in like a black hole. I remember being stretched into a line and then smashed into a dot and then blinked out into darkness. That's all I really have going into it. Up to this point, this user's experience seems like a typical salvia trip. Strange, but expected. But this is where things take a much darker turn. That blink into darkness faded back out as an opening of my eyes, but I was a different person, living a different life on a whole different world. I was now a dude in my 30s, waking up from some kind of overdose. It was very intense on that end of it because I still had some strong memories of this life that you and I are in now. It took me about a year of their time to reorient myself to that reality. I couldn't even talk right for a little while because I was trying to talk like we do. Everybody thought I had brain damage. In that year, I went to sleep every night expecting to wake back up here in my bathroom. I could not accept that it was real, but it just wasn't going away. I could count time down to the second. The memories of this life eventually began to fade though. I didn't have all the little details anymore to try and make sense of it to others. Within that life, I also had some pretty big responsibilities that I had to focus on. I had a family and a house. The whole overdose thing cost me a job, but we were able to turn things around once I put my past behind me. You have to understand that this was all backwards to me. While I was there, my experience was that I had done a drug and experienced years of another life, or ours, And within that life, I did a drug that brought me back. Basically, exactly what I am doing right now. And trying to explain this is what I was doing over there too. When you are in one of these parallels like this, no matter which direction you are heading, they become your base reality for the experience. I was questioning our world, not theirs. Theirs was my actual reality for the time being. So about 30 years later, I was an old man. My kids were grown up and moved out. One of them had asked me to look for something for them in the attic. I went up there and found a box that was very out of place. In it were things from this life we are in now. It was the biggest mindfuck I think I've ever experienced in my life. In that box, though, was a pipe and the same drug I'd overdosed on. Same exact bowl, actually. It was a little burned, but still had a few tokes left. I was just so confused and felt like I was finally close to an answer, so I hit it one more time and closed my eyes. When I opened them again, I was standing in my bathroom, 19, looking at the mirror. And just like the first transition, I was all f***ed up about it. I still had to reorient, but this was salvia, so there was no waking up from an overdose. It was like 30 years of whatever the hell that was just crammed into my head all of a sudden. I think it was about 4 minutes that had passed in total. Around 3 a.m., I remember just sitting on my bathroom floor, feeling like my head was about to explode, but not in the pounding headache kind of way. I sat there for 4 hours. At one point, I just started crying because I couldn't grasp what had happened. I was still very aware of my wife and kids and wondering if I'd ever see them again. My sister didn't even knock, just slowly opened the door and asked me what was up. She was actually very crucial in helping me reorient to this reality as my name. I tried to explain it to her. My language was a little off again, but not as bad, and she was pretty much kept my family at bay while I sorted everything out. It didn't take me long to put on the mask, but mentally it did take me about another year to let it go. And that's another problem, is the whole mask idea. I don't know how to fully feel like this person that I am, but I'm trying every day. I've seen many other parallels, even on things other than salvia. With salvia, I've left the parallels altogether and experienced core self. This was significant as my longest lived and most detailed parallel experience. You know, this is really why you don't blast a whole bowl of high-level salvia extract by yourself to see something cool. That's not what this is. It is extremely powerful, and it will loosen anyone's grip on reality. Best to go in there as a no one. This must be respected as something more than a drug. You have to let go of this illusion if you wish to do salvia properly. Any and all attachments to your name must be left at the door before you cross over. This is how you bypass the parallels and reach the core self. This is how we can remember who we are. The next user on our list was a teenager whose account has since been deleted, but their story remains just as disturbing. This teen was in foster care when they stumbled upon something so unsettling, it's almost unbelievable. Around 7 years ago, a post appeared on Reddit. I think I'm being watched. Is this a camera? The post had a picture attached to it, which at first looked like a normal pen. However, if you look closely enough, you can see a tiny lens at the bottom right. Yes, that's right. This teen was in foster care, and someone had planted a hidden camera in their bathroom. The whole Reddit community was enraged. The user was in a pretty bad spot and didn't know how to handle this. A user named berries_cherries left a comment by saying, "Hey, stop whatever you're doing right now and call the FBI at this number. When you call them, tell them that you found a camera in your foster parents' bathroom and you believe it was set up to record you and any others using the bathroom. Tell them your age and address and ask for an agent to come to the scene. This is not something you want to leave to CPS or the locals at this point. As a cop, I can say that this is number 1, illegal, 2, abusive, 3, you need to get out of the house now. If you have any questions, shoot me a PM." After that, more followed. Even if their intention was to check on you, to make sure you're not in there shooting up heroin or something, placing a spy camera in anyone's bathroom and filming them without consent when privacy is to be expected is illegal. If you're underage and the intent was to peep on you, that's some shit whoever placed it can get in some serious trouble for you. Video voyeurism and production of explicit images of a minor are both serious charges. I would suggest you talk to someone you trust, like a teacher or a counselor, or someone who you know for sure didn't place the camera and turn it over to the authorities, chances are whoever placed it is going to be the first person to pop up on that SD card. A lot of people were now invested in this story, so the user decided to drop some info about himself, about how he ended up in this situation. However, this information came with a horrifying update. He wrote, "Okay, I'll write a full update / life story now. My parents died in 2013, sending my brother and me to foster care. For the past 3 to 4 years, I've lived with this guy and his dad who have done some awful / creepy shit. It'd feel wrong to exclude the fact that he supported my brother and me for so long that this is unacceptable. A week ago, my brother moved out, leaving me with this guy who just put a camera facing the shower this morning. I posted this thread on my break. Now I'm off work at home. After talking with him about it, I don't want to live here anymore. I haven't for a while, but I have no one that will take me in at 16. I've built the last 3 years of my life living here. I have no idea what to do. I've tried calling CPS before. They came and left, and that can't happen again. I'm pretty much alone in this house with no one to talk to or help me. What am I supposed to do?" The user was too afraid to call the cops, fearing that if they confronted their foster parents and the police did nothing, it would only make matters worse for them. However, after getting support from the community, he told his brother, who was out of foster care, the whole thing and decided to finally notify the cops. Then updates followed. Update: CPS has been called. I have a place I can stay at if they take me when they come. Now I play the waiting game. I'll update when they come. However, the next update that they posted changes everything. That's the only reason I was hesitant to call in the first place. I've done it before, and they just left. I can only hope. Now, I know this doesn't make much sense here, but the next post they made connects all the dots about what actually happened. They later posted one last update, and after that, there has been no activity on this account. The post is titled Bathroom Camera Update. While the post itself has been deleted, but reading the comments reveals something terrifying. The police didn't do anything and left the user with the foster parents. For better context, here is what a user named Naked Viking had to say about the situation. "What the fuck, did CPS say anything? Just, well, that's fucked up. Hope you don't get raped / killed. See ya. You need to get the fuck out of there, man." Another user named Curious Kerr made a comment by saying, "Holy shit, that's some intensive expunge shit there. I wonder why they left without OP. Why couldn't they investigate and watch the clips in their FBI van and assess at the spot? OP's guardian will delete any evidence and will get away with it. And what's going to happen with OP? Just wither and die? What the fuck? This is making me livid and making my blood boil." This was the last post made from this account, and no one has heard a single thing from him again. There were multiple people who actually contacted the authorities themselves to help the OP. However, it looks like the foster parents did get him in the end. While the OP never posted anything again, another user named 645-33546 made a post in r/best of legal advice covering this whole thing around the same time, which reveals that the foster actually took away all the electronics from the OP, so he could not get in contact with anyone else. The post read, "What's that? Your proof foster parent is spying on you in the bathroom? Well, we'll leave you here while we look into it. Police. A teenager adopted into foster care came across a device in the bathroom they thought was a camera and brought it up on r/what is this thing? After getting it identified and alerting the appropriate authorities, they then took the camera device and let the teen stay with the foster parent whose house the camera was in. After that, the foster parent then retaliated by confiscating all electronics, save an old phone which was used for the update. It's actually a pretty messed up situation, so I hope this leads to a positive resolution, but given how it's been handled thus far, I'm not feeling optimistic." I also wasn't sure how to go about sharing this non-r/legal advice post in here, since the rules require some element of legal advice, and this is clearly a situation that involves legal advice on top of being pretty crazy. So I'll leave it to the mods on how this goes. Edit. While I was typing up the body, I realized the typo in the title and told myself I'd go back to fix it, and well, yeah, sorry. Edit 2. Clarified that police only took camera, foster parent took other electronics. This post connects all the dots and reveals that the case was buried somehow. Maybe the foster parent pulled some strings so that the OP would be left with no proof, about the whole situation. Alright guys, that wraps up disturbing Reddit users. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is a new style for me, new editing, new scripting, new video topic in just general. Comment down below if you enjoyed this. Would you like to see more in the future? And what would you like to see different? You guys are the best. Thank you for watching to the end. I really enjoyed this video. This is probably my favorite video I've ever made, in all honesty. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Like and subscribe, helps out a lot. And this was Snook, and I'll see you next time. Bye.